Today's webinar is going to be on relationships and how it will transform your wealth and also your health. So most people don't associate relationships with their wealth, career, or even health, but I'm here today to tell you that it plays a very critical role in everything I just mentioned. Hey, listen, I get it. Right now, you are tuned in because you want to see where this is going, and I'm glad that you have an open enough mind to join me today. I used to be exactly like you until I was forced into my own journey looking for the answers that I saw, which was just feeling good and financial abundance. And what I discovered over the years is that the relationships in my world played a very critical role in everything that I wanted in my life. Now, I want to repeat that for you. The quality of your life is about the quality of your relationships. And once I got those relationships in line and where I wanted them to be, everything else just sort of fell into place. So, I want to start today by telling you my story and where I am coming from. So, I was a trader down at the Board of Trade for 17 years. And let's just say I wasn't living the healthiest lifestyle, so to speak. I got my big break one day to go manage a $1 billion fund. And, it's exactly what I wanted in life. It was finally presented to me, and I was going to sail off happy and with more money than I know what to do with, right? But, it wasn't, a bed of roses when I got there. Let's just say that. The markets got kind of rough, the stress increased, and my health kind of took a turn for the worse. And then there was one day in my life that kind of changed everything for the worse, and it changed it for a long time. And it's all started when I was on a golfing weekend with the guys up in Door County, Wisconsin. And needless to say, this was a bender weekend. It wasn't the best. A lot of drinking going on, a lot of golfing. And then one night, on the third night of the trip, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm at the bar, and just out of the blue, the whole entire left side of my body goes completely numb. And I lost all bodily functions on the left side to the point where I was holding a drink in my hand, and it just started shaking all over the place, and the drink went flying all over the bar. I didn't know what was going on. I was petrified. At first I thought I was having a heart attack, and I thought I was having a stroke. I didn't know what to do, if I should go to the emergency room. And I figured, I'm just going to try to sleep this one off. I was going home in a couple hours anyways, and we'll see what happens. But, from that point on, my life wasn't the same. It got so bad where I could only describe it as foggy brain. I was just constantly jittering. It got so bad that, I'd be sitting in my office at work, and I'd have all my computer screens everywhere, trying to trade, and I'd start freaking out. Totally freaking out, where I had to physically remove myself. I'd go to the elevators, go down 14 flights of stairs, and I would literally walk around the block 100 times, just breathing to myself, trying to get myself back to normal, even build up the courage to get back up into my office. And this lasted for a long time. It lasted 12 long months for me. I found myself in the emergency room on numerous occasions, and nothing seemed to be changing or working. I went to the doctor. In fact, I saw every doctor, every specialist, ran every test in the book, and everyone said the same thing. They said, "You're fine. You just have a little anxiety. Learn to relax, but take a pill." And that just wasn't resonating with me. It wasn't working, and something was wrong with me. And I was determined to figure out what it was. And then I remember this moment specifically, and I'm never going to forget it, because this was literally the defining moment in my life, where I'm staring at myself in the mirror, and I just told myself, I said, I can't go on living like this. This is not even a life. I will do anything for change. And so that's when I, ultimately turned to my wife. And I should say at this point, it was the first time I understood in my life why someone would actually take their own lives. And I don't want to say I was suicidal. I was not by any means, but I understood it now. And that's when I turned to my wife and I said, I'm willing to do anything it takes. I've exhausted all of my options. What do I do next? And that's when she gave me the number to a nutritionist up in northern Wisconsin by the name of Karen Hurd. And that was literally the beginning of my journey. Now, I was a very typical American out there who thought health was all about counting calories and burning as many as I could in the gym while eliminating fats out of my diet. But that's not how it works, is what I found out. It's not about counting calories. It's about making those calories count. And I really thought that any of my problems, could be solved with a quick visit to the doctor's office and a pill. That's just what I was brought up to believe, and that's what many of us are brought up to believe. And so that's where it was. And I don't even want to get started on the fact that I used to make fun of my wife, who was into alternative medicine, the holistic world, nutrition. I was really not a supportive husband whatsoever all those years. And then, fast forwarding I think for about 5 months later, actually, my life and my health were all back on track and better than ever. And as a side effect that I wasn't even looking for, my lifelong allergies totally cleared up. They don't exist anymore. And I lost 30 pounds on top of it. So it was fantastic. I mean, so everything I just told you right there, along with my daughter's story of her having seizures and how we use the same methods to clear those up, those are all the reasons why I left trading and my wife and I started this company together. And it's also why I am hosting this webinar today. It's to help others in a similar situation, hopefully before they get to the point where I was. And today's topic is specifically on relationships, because that played one of the key roles, if not the key role, in my overall recovery. So what did I do? That's the money question here, right? Essentially, I became an expert on relationships. And I did studying everything that I could and really finding role models to replicate their success. And the first place that I actually turned was this book called Love and Respect: The Love She Most Desires and the Respect He Desperately Needs by Emerson Eggerichs. And the basic premise of this book is that women desire unconditional love. Now, there's nothing new in this. We've been hearing this since the beginning of time. So, I mean, I'm not inventing anything new here. But the other side of the equation is about men. And, for lack of a better phrase, they don't care about the love part. They don't want unconditional love. Men want respect. And so that was eye-opening to me. And I think that's eye-opening to a lot of people out there. And if you really dig deep down, you'll find that there's a lot of truth in that. So, right now, I just want to take a brief moment and I want to stop and reflect for a second. And if you're a woman on the webinar right now, I mean, do you really desire that unconditional love? And, what about your significant other there? I mean, when you show them respect, do they act a little differently? Maybe a little bit more loving in return? Or how about the guys out there? I mean, when you give your partner that love she desperately wants and needs, do you find she automatically gives you respect in return, and both of you are in good places together in this continuous positive circle? I don't think you really need to dig too deep to figure this one out. But here's the great thing about all this. It really only takes one partner to make a simple change to transform any relationship for the better. And, overall, that's where I started. I started making a full-blown effort to show my wife, my kids, my family members, my friends, unconditional love and respect. But I really made giving my wife that unconditional love my top priority, above and beyond anything else. And it took some effort on it. And you never would have guessed what happened next. She started showing me respect. It was just it was just really a natural occurrence on her part when I ultimately gave her what she was looking for. And again, that's the beauty of everything that I'm going to cover today. One person in the relationship can start this positive loop that's going to continue if you keep working at it. Now, my journey didn't stop there. The next stop was to learn about the 5 love languages from a guy by the name of Gary Chapman. So, I mean, if you're not aware of what the 5 love languages are, like I wasn't at the time, they are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. And you can actually go to Gary's website to figure out your own love language as well as that of your significant other at 5lovelanguages.com. It's right there on the screen. Now, here's where I learned that my primary love language is physical touch. So what this actually means is the best way for someone to show me love, and specifically from my spouse, is from some form of touching each other, physical touch. But this also means that I tend to show my love for others through touch as well. Now, the flip side of this is I also learned what my family's love languages are. And yes, my kids even took the test, but the main thing I want to focus on today is my wife. And that's where the story is going to go. So her primary love language, as it turns out, is acts of service. So the best way that I can show her love was to help her out, whether it was with the kids, the house, the laundry, cooking, you name it. Anytime I was of any assistance to her, that was a sign of love in her eyes. And of course, this was eye-opening for me. I had no idea, right? I'm not even sure she knew at the time. So that's what I really started to do at this point. I started to help out with the kids a lot more, offering my assistance before she even requested it. I started doing the laundry on my own. We even made a schedule for who cooked what meals on what days. Man, did my wife love this. So there's a little side note for all the guys out there. And you guessed it, though. After we did all that, things changed dramatically yet again. Now, I do need to preference this by saying that these changes don't always happen overnight. So I want to share with you a little story of, how I ultimately got there. I mean, you see my wife, she teaches classes on Saturday mornings, these group activity classes up at Lifetime Fitness. And then she usually goes to the store and does the grocery shopping. So she's gone for a good 4 hours on Saturday mornings. And then when she gets home, the house is always a train wreck because I'm usually doing some sort of work on the computer and the kids just wreck everything in their path. And it's a major form of stress for her. So I decided one day it would be a fantastic thing for me to clean the entire house while she was gone. And I went as far as cleaning the lawn. I did everything. I made it spotless, right? And I got the kids to help out. And then when we were done, I made sure I contained the kids in a certain area so they wouldn't wreck it before she got in the door. And, this was going to be an ultimate way of me showing my wife love, right? So she gets home, the house is spotless, and she walks in, and she's pretty exhausted after a morning like that. And she puts the groceries down on the counter and she looks over at the stove, and then she just kind of starts almost yelling at me. She's like, "What is this? Who cleaned this? This isn't even clean. Who taught you how to clean?" I'm going, "What?" She started throwing all these remarks at me. I'm going, "You gotta be kidding me." I'm flabbergasted at this point. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what to do. I don't even address the situation. To me, I thought I was showing her the ultimate love, and she tears off my head because I didn't clean the stove to her liking. And so, I just wanted to bring up this because that was a bump in our road, and obviously that was earlier on. But you have to keep after it is the moral of the story here. You just got to keep keep after it. And I promise you that a significant change is going to come from your spouse. Don't give up on it. And your relationship and the overall energy in it is going to turn for the positive. And so I didn't give up. Like I said, I went down this journey. It's not like I told my wife, you got to be on board with all this stuff. You have to show me respect. It's not what I did. I just started doing it all on my own, and great things ended up coming from it. So why don't you stop and think right now, just in your brain, just start brainstorming a little bit. What do you think your primary love language is? And then, what do you think your partner's primary love language is? But I don't want you to stop there. I mean, think about it right now. But as soon as this webinar is done, go over to Gary's site, go over to 5lovelanguages.com and take the test. It's a free test. It only takes about 5 minutes, I think, and you'll figure it out, and you'll be thankful you did. Okay, so those were the first two things. The first two steps I went through in my whole process, and the 5 love languages and the love and respect, that might not be news to you. Maybe it is, but either way, they were major stepping stones in my recovery for health and financial abundance. So, now at this point, I think I know what's going through your mind, and you might be questioning the validity of one partner being able to change the actions of the other. And I'm asking you now to take a leap of faith. And maybe you are not the person, who lives in the faith world, so to speak, but I'm here to tell you that I think you do on some level or another. So, I mean, how about this for an example? Do you drive? Yeah, I mean, it might seem like a very silly question, but do you drive a car? If so, have you ever driven on a 2-lane highway, maybe on the countryside, maybe, some road like you see in the picture in front of you? Well, stop and think about this for a second. You're driving in your lane, and then you have someone else coming in the opposite direction, driving their car in their lane. And all that separates you from a terrible, potential fatal accident is 1 or 2 yellow lines on a paved road. If that isn't a leap of faith, I'm really not sure what is. So you see, you do take that leap of faith every single day in some form or another. So why not try it in your relationship with someone you absolutely trust instead of some stranger on the road where you have no idea where they're coming from? Plus numerous people from all over the globe, have done something similar and rave about the results. In fact, I'm here right now telling you it works. What do you have to lose? I mean, there really is only upside potential in the whole situation. So, okay. Enough about that. Let's move on here. Now I'm going to talk about the neuro associations in your brain. Yeah, that's right. Dr. Hinman here is going to be talking about the brain, but stick with me on this one. I want you to hear me out. I used to work, long, stressful hours every day trading the markets. And some days were good, meaning they were very profitable, and some days were not so good, where I lost a lot of money. And as much as I tried leaving those emotions at work, I just couldn't, and they would come home with me whether I wanted it or not. But one thing that I did realize was that whenever I got home, no matter what type of a mood I was in, as soon as I walked through that door and saw my wife, I would, instantly get shot with negativity, and it would almost, it would actually kind of put me in a bad mood. I dreaded going home, and that led to many nights where I just wouldn't go home, and I'd stay out drinking with the guys, telling my wife, it was work related, only marginally fibbing the truth. I mean, I was literally finding any reason to go do anything but be with my family. I mean, that is not a good place to be, let me tell you from firsthand experience. So how do you stop this? What's the answer to change this negative association I had with my wife, my family, my house, whatever it was? And it turns out I had to change the neuro associations in my brain. See, your brain is really a great thing. You create these associations, which are essentially like paths carved out of a forest. And the more you travel down the path, and the more people travel down this path, the more they become defined paths, I guess. So, but just like any other path in the jungle, if you stop taking it, the brush is going to grow back in and the path is not going to exist anymore. You won't be able to find it. So that's really what I ended up doing. I ended up changing all of my neuro associations with my wife and essentially created an entirely new pathway in my brain. Now, the $64,000 question is, how did I do that? And it's actually quite a simple concept to grasp and go through. I don't want to walk you through the exact process and the know-how right now. That's something we cover in our course, and it's just a little bit long for this webinar, but I'd love to reach out to you about it at some other point in time. Right now, what I do want to tell you, though, is that the quality of your relationships and life comes down to the questions that you ask yourself on a daily basis. So I'm going to give you an example here, and I'm really going to put this in guy language, so to speak, for all the dudes in the webinar. Okay, ladies, please don't take offense to this. I'm really just trying to resonate with the guys that are tuning in, because I'm a guy, and this is how I really did feel at one point in my life, until I really started to understand everything that I'm talking about in the webinar. So here's the example. Don't ask yourself this. This is a very, very bad question to ask yourself. And this is what I used to ask myself. I used to say, why is my wife a nag all the time? Okay. So, I hate saying it, my wife hates when I use that word, but that's really what went through my head. I mean, that's honestly what I felt. This is not a good place to be. This is not a good question to ask. So that's a bad question. But instead, you need to reframe those questions, okay? And when you start asking questions like, what do I need to do that I actually enjoy to help my wife stop nagging? That is a much, much better question. You see, your brain is always going to find the answers to any question you ask it. So you really have to be conscious about what questions you're asking and ask the right questions. I mean, stop and think about this. Your brain always delivers to you. So if you ask yourself why you're such a loser, your brain is going to search for an answer, and it's going to start telling you all the reasons why you are a loser. So don't ask yourself that question. Ask yourself something else. You need to be aware of these questions you ask yourself and learn to ask better questions. This is extremely important. So, I hope you wrote that one down. Now, I want everyone just take a step back here and we want to think. And I want you to pick something about your spouse, your significant other that just really, really drives you nuts and you associate with pain. For me, it was the constant quote unquote nagging, which, you know what, in all honesty, hindsight's 20/20, right? But in all honesty, when I'm looking back on it, that was just her way of communicating with me. I mean, nagging it was the term nagging. It doesn't mean she was nagging. She was communicating with me, and I associated it with nagging, with negativity, because it was my judgmental attitude towards her that turned it into a negative. So, this is kind of a side lesson. I didn't mean to get into this, but one of the things you should really do is learn to listen without judgment. Okay, and you should do this in every aspect of your life, whether it's with your kids, wife, coworkers, family. Your life is going to be much easier. Just trust me on this one and go try it. Now, so we got that negative thought that you're thinking of, and now you need to ask yourself a better question, right? So you heard my example earlier about the nagging, but maybe you are the wife on the webinar right now, and your negative thought is, hey, my husband gets home from work and just plops his ass on the couch with a beer and never does anything around the house to help with the kids. And I can guarantee you this went through my wife's head more than a couple times. Okay. Now let's reframe that question, and let's think of a positive thing to ask yourself. Well, why don't we say, what can I do that would be beneficial for both of us to help my husband avoid the couch and assist around the house? Now, you see, your brain is always going to give you an answer to the question. So if you ask the right questions, like that's a much better question to ask. Your brain's going to go searching and you're going to find solutions together that work for both of you. Now, all of this boils down really to one thing, that the quality of your life, including your career and your finances, is all about the quality of your relationships. You get those relationships in gear and your performance everywhere will explode. You really need to think about relationships as something you give to and not something you take from. And what you put into the relationship and into the world in general, you're going to get back on a tenfold basis. You just need to be watching out for these opportunities, and they will present themselves, and you're going to have to capitalize on them. And yes, one person can change the relationship, and yes, definitely it is worth it. Relationships are all prone to the law of familiarity, which basically states that when you've been around something long enough, you start to take it for granted. And the first step to really avoiding this problem is to become aware that this trap actually exists. You need to be aware of it. And the number one killer of all relationships is associating pain or negativity with it. That is what I did, and I promise you, if you're going through something similar to what I went through, that's what it is. You see, all humans, we all operate in one of two ways. We're always either moving away from pain or towards pleasure. And the drive to move away from pain is always more powerful than moving towards pleasure. So, if you don't have the relationship you're looking for, and that just means that you're associating more pain getting it to where you want to be than pleasure you would have once you got there. So going back to my example earlier, I was always trying to avoid my wife because I associated her presence with pain. And it wasn't until after I changed that association and linked my wife with ultimate pleasure that the real magic occurred. Now, I want you to, you're probably going, what did Mike just say right now? Let me repeat that. I was able to link my wife with ultimate pleasure. Yes, I changed it myself. And you can, in all honesty, you can link whatever you want with ultimate pleasure as well. So whatever it is, link ultimate pleasure with your wife, with your kids, with golfing, with financial abundance, whatever it is, you can do that through changing the neuro associations. And so, this is one of the things that we actually do here at the Hinman Holistic Health Institute. We give you the tools and the actual how to make these changes occur and last. So, I want to do one last exercise here, and I want you to quickly think about, where your relationship is right now with your significant other. Just where is it? Think of in your head, good place, bad place, and whatnot. And then I want you to envision where you want it to be. So go 6 or even 12 months out into the future and really find clarity right now. I'm going to give you, just a quick, 60 seconds right now to just think and get the clarity of where you want your relationship to be. All right. I hope everyone, figured out where they want their relationship to be. And now I got a final question for you. Would you be happy if in 12 months from today, from right now, this moment, you were in the exact same place you are right now? How would that make you feel? Not very good would be my guess. But I want you to dig deep on this one. What emotions would you really feel if you're in the same spot 12 months right now? Would it be, frustration? Would it be disappointment? Would it be doubt, worry, blame, discouragement, anger, resentment, rage, maybe rage? How about jealousy, insecurity, unworthiness, fear, powerlessness, depression? These are not good emotions, and these are places you need to avoid at all costs. Listen, don't think you are alone in this one situation. You are not alone, not even close. And that's really the silver lining in this whole situation. You are human, just like me and just like everyone else. I mean, so, and real change is possible for you. You just have to want it, and you have to start associating pain with not getting it. I was in your exact shoes not too long ago, and I made the decision that I was not going to be in the same spot I was 12 months from the point when I was looking in the mirror. And I went out and made those changes. And I didn't have the luxury of having a roadmap to get me to my goals. I had to figure it out on my own. And that's why, that is why my wife and I created the Hinman Holistic Health Institute. To supply that step-by-step process, that change in beliefs, and that supportive community to get you to your goals without you going through what we went through, which was years of sifting through mountains and mountains of conflicting information, tens and tens of thousands of dollars, and trial and error along the way. You can get there too. I want you to realize this. It's it's a simple process. Trust me on this one. We will supply you the map and everything else you need to get there. You just need to want it. That's what it boils down to. Get leverage on yourself, associate with pain, and want change. So, if you do want to start the journey, then I would love to invite you to a marquee event my wife and I are hosting this Friday, September 30th, called the Parents Solution. This is a 5-hour content-filled day where we give you our best tools and implementation strategies to start real change in your life. We're hosting it up at a yoga studio, so we're going to do a little yoga. We're going to find, uncover your obstacles, find clarity of what you want. Lunch is going to be provided, and then we're going to go into a lot of high-level content, coaching, and presentation. So, if you're located local by us, which is in the Chicagoland area, specifically the northwestern suburbs up near Libertyville, we invite you to join us for this awesome day. You can go and sign up for it at www.theparentssolution.com. That's a website. There's a lot of information there. I advise you to please go check it out. And, if you're not in the area, I know a lot of you aren't Chicago and can't just fly in on a whim here. We do have a special present for you as well. And really for, everyone who joined us on the webinar today. My wife and I, we're offering a free coaching call to anyone who wants to take us up on our offer. This is really our way of giving back to the community and helping people in similar situations, with our knowledge and our real life experience go through. So you can schedule that. You just have to go to hinmans.com/call. It'll bring you to our calendar, and you can schedule the call with us. So does anyone have any questions about what we covered today or anything? All right, I hope everyone figured out where they want their relationship to be. And now I got a final question for you. Would you be happy if in 12 months from today, from right now, this moment, you were in the exact same place you are right now? How would that make you feel? Not very good would be my guess. But I want you to dig deep on this one. What emotions would you really feel if you're in the same spot 12 months right now? Would it be, frustration? Would it be disappointment? Would it be doubt, worry, blame, discouragement, anger, resentment, rage, maybe rage? How about jealousy, insecurity, unworthiness, fear, powerlessness, depression? These are not good emotions, and these are places you need to avoid at all costs. Listen, don't think you are alone in this one situation. You are not alone, not even close. And that's really the silver lining in this whole situation. You are human, just like me and just like everyone else. Real change is possible for you. You know, you just have to want it, and you have to start associating pain with not getting it. You know, I was in your exact shoes not too long ago, and I made the decision that I was not going to be in the same spot I was 12 months from the point when I was looking in the mirror. And I went out and made those changes. And I didn't have the luxury of having a roadmap to get me to my goals. You know, I had to figure it out on my own. And and that's why, that is why my wife and I created the Hinman Holistic Health Institute. To supply that step-by-step process, that change in beliefs, and that supportive community to get you to your goals without you going through what we went through, which was years of sifting through mountains and mountains of conflicting information, tens and tens of thousands of dollars, and trial and error along the way. You can get there too. I want you to realize this. It's it's a simple process. Trust me on this one. We will supply you the map and everything else you need to get there. You just need to want it. That's what it boils down to. Get leverage on yourself, associate with pain, and want change. So, if you do want to start the journey, then I would love to invite you to a marquee event my wife and I are hosting this Friday, September 30th, called the Parent Solution. This is a 5-hour content-filled day where we give you our best tools and implementation strategies to start real change in your life. We're hosting it up at a yoga studio, so we're going to do a little yoga. We're going to find, uncover your obstacles, find clarity of what you want. Lunch is going to be provided, and then we're going to go into a lot of high-level content coaching and presentation. So, if you're located local by us, which is in the Chicagoland area, specifically the northwestern suburbs up near Libertyville, we invite you to join us for this awesome day. You can go and sign up for it at www.theparentssolution.com. That's a website. There's a lot of information there. I advise you to please go check it out. And, if you're not in the area, I know a lot of you aren't Chicago and can't just fly in on a whim here. We do have a special present for you as well. And really for, everyone who joined us on the webinar today. My wife and I, we're offering a free coaching call to anyone who wants to take us up on our offer. This is really our way of giving back to the community and helping people in similar situations, with our knowledge and our real life experience go through. So you can schedule that. You just have to go to hinmans.com/call. It'll bring you to our calendar, and you can schedule the call with us. So does anyone have any questions about what we covered today or anything?